This is episode number 410 of the Health and Fitness Podcast by InnerFight, proudly sponsored by Smith Street Cardio. 410. Didn't even feel like 10 shows ago that we recorded 400, mate.
It goes fast, man.
It goes super fast. And we've had some actually, we've really #blessed and all that stuff. This year we've had some absolutely banging guests on the show the last few weeks. If you listened to the last show last Thursday, show 408 with Matt McDonald, 15 oranges for breakfast. That was a while.
That was a crazy show.
That was a while. And then before that, you got this, Deborah Madeline, the packaging scientist. If you haven't checked out her book, go and listen to podcast 408. You'll definitely want to go and check it out. And one of my favorites, and I actually ran with this guy this morning. We're recording a little bit of an advance here, so I ran with him this morning. Brian MacArthur, the sub 15-minute 5K run in podcast 404. So many people contacted us after that show and said, wow, on-running technology is so cool how you run on clouds and stuff. I think some people have actually taken advantage of that.
Could you keep up with him?
He was on, I could.
Oh, he was on deload?
I don't know. It's actually quite funny because he's obviously an incredible runner, mate. There's one picture that this guy got that it was probably like quite close to the end, and Brian looks totally comfortable, and my face does not look comfortable at all. So I'm on a recovery. No excuse at all. He's a way, way better runner than I am. But as always, mate, I think one of the key things is, and that's what I always look for, is try and hang out with people that are a lot better than me. And I'd rather run with people that are better than me and lose to them. I don't want to lose, but because that gives me a lot of sort of passion and drive to try and beat them rather than running with people that are slower.
Let's dig a little bit into that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a general thing? Because I think, like, this is not one of the questions from the listeners' Q&A, but I think it's quite a good topic. Like, I think a lot of people are sometimes afraid to train with somebody who's better than them because they're afraid that, that's going to get to them mentally. Because maybe, if you never win, for some people that can just give such a negative vibe. But on the other hand, if you always win, you're going to start lowering your level. So what do you recommend? Like, should you train sometimes with people that are better than you all the time, or once in a while? Or
what I really recommend, mate, is first of all understanding what your personality responds better to. Yeah. And without going too deep into it, it might be we're obviously dealing with a lot of adults. We have a few kids, but it could be a behavior that's been drilled in over your life. So if you're always in the B stream at school, or you're always not very good at the track at school, or you're not very good at sport in school, you might have a very low self-esteem and poor self-image about that. So if I then just start to throw you in again into that sort of environment, let's use it down at the track, we're going to go and work on your running, and you're not a very good runner, and you've had this experience, then 15 or 20 years after you've had that experience, I put you on the track with people that are just smashing you the whole time, it's going to bring back really bad memories. Yeah. So there's a certain amount of it that I might need to build up your confidence first, especially in running. Like, people are a little bit lacking confidence generally in running. Like, I think I had one lady came to the track this morning. She doesn't have much confidence about running, and she has one of the best running techniques I've seen in a female for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's just not very good at it. Why? Because not very good at going for a long period of time, because she doesn't train it very often. So, she's got a negative self-image about it, but her running technique is actually good. And you know me, I'll tell her if it's not good, it's not good. Yeah. So it's a very double-edged sword, mate. But I think, and this is why the importance of having a coach is something that I'm really big on, because you need to know the good times to put your athlete in almost what I'd say potentially compromising situations, and the times where it's actually those compromising situations are going to bring out the best in them.
You can set them up for success.
You can set them up for success, and also, mate, and I'll do it a lot, and even if my clients, my athletes are listening, I'll actually put them training sessions that I know that they can't complete on purpose. Yeah. Like, I'd set them up, I am setting them up to fail, but there's a reason for that, and it's to teach them to dig a little bit deeper, and is to teach them if every single training session is just doable and it's easy, and in Training Peaks it's like, great session, well done, people start to get comfortable. And a lot of the online training that I give to people, they are doing on their own, although I see the data. So sometimes I just want to see, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to give you a pacing, that I know that you can't sustain past the 5th set, but I'm going to give you 7 sets of it, and you're going to hit the wall. And the strong athlete is going to hit the wall. They're going to adjust the pace down a bit because literally they have to, otherwise they'll die. Their heart will literally explode. And they're going to complete the last 2 sets. The weaker athlete is going to stop. He's going to fail. And in both of those scenarios, you're going to learn a lot. Because if you're an athlete that I coach and you stop, you're only ever going to stop once. Because I'm going to absolutely rinse you so hard that you're going to know that no matter what's wrong, you're going to continue to finish the set in future.
But it's a great learning experience.
It is, mate. And it sounds quite, what do you call it, masochistic and a bit like bullyish that I would give people sessions that they can't complete. But it also teaches them something. Like, you know, you're gonna do a CrossFit workout if it's a 20-minute AMRAP. If you've never broken down, which most people that have done a 20-minute AMRAP have, but if you've never broken down in the middle of a 20-minute AMRAP at about the 12-minute stage, then it might happen in a really important competition. So I think it's really good that we train for those failures, and so we understand how we react.
Because it's training. It's not competing, and there's a difference.
Right.
Like, you know,
talk to us a little bit about that, mate, because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff about sort of the difference of training and competing and a little bit on the psychological side. So what's your thoughts about it?
I mean, there's a huge difference between training and competing. So I can talk for myself about this. I'm not going to say this is going to work for everyone, but when you're training, you never want to one training session should never sacrifice the next 3 sessions or next couple of weeks. You know, if something hurts, you stop.
Right.
If something doesn't feel good, if you're exhausted, you go home.
Yeah.
If you feel something is niggly, you go get a treatment. You stop right away.
Right.
And that's training. When it's game time and it's something you've prepared for 1 year or 2 years or even more.
Yeah.
And this is your peak.
Yeah.
You will go through pretty much whatever
it takes.
I'm not saying, okay, if both your knees are broken, you're not going to continue, but
if you've ripped your hand.
If you rip your hands or you're feeling strain in your shoulders, you're not quite sure what it is and it feels niggly, obviously you try to assess it during the competition, but you also realize that this is game time and you've prepared yourself for such a long time for this specific event. Absolutely. And you're not sure when this event is going to come around again, and you're ready to sacrifice 3 months of being injured afterwards.
Absolutely.
So I just think there's a massive difference, and you know, in training it's super important also to try to tap into some of that competition effort mode. Like my coach programs a lot of. He would always tell me what intensity we're going at.
Right.
So, for example, leading up to the Open for 12 weeks, I would have like 1 session a week that would be at open effort.
Right. I like that a lot.
That's like I set it up just like it's an open workout, and I will demolish myself. I will film the workout. I will, do the whole recording.
Yeah.
I'll have a judge on me. Like I'll create everything that creates that mental pressure and environment, and I will blow my lungs out. I will go as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that you can just tap into the dark place if you haven't been in it. If you haven't tapped into it ever or in 1 year, you're not all of a sudden going to say, all right, it's the Open, I'm going to tap into it 5 to 10 times.
Right. Yeah. It's not something that you can just, it's not a tap. You can't just turn it on. You need to know what it feels like. You need to know how you react. You need to be ready for it. Yeah. So you need to have trained it, right? It's
exactly
that,
And you kind of need to build up to get there. I think that's almost the difference. Like we have all these questions about people wanting to move, different zones, or want to do RX, or they want to put up bigger scores, and they don't understand what the limiter was. But I think in a lot of, they'll say it hurt, but even the best, it hurts a lot.
Yeah.
But it's because they can continuously, stop. They can continuously stop telling the brain or the body that they can keep going.
Yeah.
The brain keeps saying, the mind keeps playing games with you, trying to make you stop, but you can keep pushing.
Yeah.
And I think the better you get, the more you're able to push these limits.
And I mean, that's why the pain is the same. Like, if you look at someone's heart rate, like 90% heart rate for me, like, hurts as much as it hurts for you.
Yeah.
It's not that you feel it any more or any less, but if you've trained this, you might be able to sustain that pain for a longer period of time than I can. So you can sit at 90% heart rate for 10 minutes. Maybe I am only trained, or I'm only conditioned myself, my brain, my mental strength to sit at 90% heart rate for 4 minutes because I just don't train it enough.
And it's mental.
And it's all mental, man.
Yeah.
It's all mental. So
literally.
Yeah. That's a decent way to kick it off. The first 10 minutes all about that and how to train and how to really train in that deep sort of hurt and to really get the best out of yourself as well.
I actually have one question.
Yeah.
How many times do you think you should go to like the dark, like when you said sometimes your client's up for a failure, like how often does this happen? Because I think if somebody's listening, like, man, I'm not going to sign up with this guy. He's going to try to like screw me over on a daily basis.
It's a little bit dependent on sort of what's going on in their program at that time, but I'll want to put them like in a tough situation at least once a month.
Okay.
At least once a month. And that could be any different way, mate. I won't always do it by the same method.
No.
So it won't always be 600-800s with, for example, we did it the other week, 90-second rest, and like you could go all in from the start, or it won't always be a 3K time trial. But there'll always be something every month that I can just, and I'll say, I'm just like your coach, mate. I will write in the notes what sort of intensity that session is. I try and stay away from saying this is 75% or this is this. Yeah. But if it's a zone 2, I'll be like, this is zone 2. It's super comfortable, conversation pace. Maybe even just stick in a podcast or an audiobook. Just go and enjoy your run or your ride for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then, and because I'm giving this balance out to them as well, mate, it's like when that tough one, when that 3K or 5K time trial, and I will start my notes, this is all in. Or I want everything, and I'll end it a little bit more colorful than that as well. Yeah. And it's almost like I'm giving them, and I think this is one of the powers of sort of having, like, class is great, and we can speak that in class, but when you're doing something on your own or you have a remote coach, like, to get that, I'll try and give them the coach's talk within the workout, so they'll get it, and they'll be literally, and I've had clients that have literally read their workouts for the following week on a Thursday, and they're just fired up, they're ready to do them. So yeah, it's probably once a month, mate. And then, like, with the, it's kind of the similar thing with CrossFit as well. Like, we know as coaches you'll be at 75, 80 or 90%, but I would never really, because what is, especially in CrossFit, like, what's 90% in a workout? Like, how do you measure that?
Yeah, I think that's one big struggle that many coaches have out there and athletes have to understand. Like, it's super hard, and I think it just comes down to self-awareness. And, once you've been in the game for quite a few years, you start knowing, all right, this is about 80% perceived effort.
Right.
You can never really measure. Like, with certain things, we do use heart rate monitors. Yeah. I think that's super helpful, even for CrossFit athletes. We've talked about for endurance athletes. That obviously is a super powerful tool.
So, to jump in there, mate, because I know that's a question that we get, and I'm seeing not an increasing, but maybe potentially a little bit increasing number of people wearing them in CrossFit. Do you think that it's a metric that's been underutilized?
For sure. Yeah? I think there's a lot of things that we slowly going to start learning about in CrossFit and adapting from other elite sports that's been going on for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I definitely think so. If you're out there, like, I get so many questions all the time, like, what is the thing on your chest? How do you use that? What is it for?
No.
And it's simple. Like, often, for example, on my active rest days, or I have something where I need to just get moving.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to just get caught up in something, like, especially if you train with someone. Like, that's when you're in trouble, because you're going to start going a little bit faster, and then he's going to start going a little faster, etc. But if you have the heart rate monitor on, like, it's going to keep you brutally honest.
Yeah,
like,
you kind of know where.
You see, you can't go up above this heart rate for this session.
Yeah.
And I program it quite a lot for my online clients. Like, I think it's a super useful tool. I don't use it for everything at all.
Yeah.
But if there's something monostructural or a long workout where I just want them to work on, like, some mixed aerobic stuff with some skill work.
Yep.
I can just kind of adjust them so I know that I keep them under a certain fatigue level. Like, let's say I have a client that's not really good with wall balls, and I'm gonna throw in some wall balls, some muscle ups, and some rowing.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that he or she doesn't get smoked on the wall balls, but I just want him to work on technique.
Yep.
So I can just say, all right, I want you to stay below whatever 140 heart rate.
Right.
I just know they're going to do 10 wall balls. It's going to be above, so they need to rest after 10 reps and
come down,
and they can really focus on like, how can I try to calm down my heart rate in between my sets, and how can I make my wall balls more efficiently? So
absolutely.
I think there's still a lot of things that we don't know yet, and that we can. There's a lot of tools.
Yeah.
So
one thing I want to add to that heart rate as well, mate, is that if it is one of those sort of red line all-in sessions, I'm all good for people having their heart rate on, but don't look at it.
No.
Like when I run at the track, I know the pacing of 800s. I know the pacing of 600s. Like we do all of that pacing for interval sessions based on pacing that we know that we can achieve. I look at the pacing on my watch. I don't care about the heart rate. I still wear the heart rate monitor because I want to then analyze how my heart rate's performed at that intensity and that pace.
Yeah.
And then I can maybe say, actually, that's my 10K pace. I should be a little bit below heart rate. Was it hot? Was something up? Did I sleep well? Was my nutrition good? All of these different variables. Rather than going, actually, now at 10K pace, I should only be at like 250 beats and I'm at 300. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it freaks you out.
It freaks you out. And it's one thing, actually, in who was it? Maybe Nibali, who's a very good cyclist, and Miguel from the bike shop told me he came over once and he said, when you're climbing, just take watts off your power meter. Just go. He said, just going all in. The climb's 10K or 15K. What are you going to do? I'm going too many watts? Or, you know what I mean? It's like you're just going, and that's why sometimes this heart rate and rate of perceived effort, like you're all in, you're all in. And your heart rate might tell you you're lower, but if you're all in the workout, you're all in the workout. So,
and especially in CrossFit, because it's so, skills specific, and, you can be out redlined on, heavy squat cleans.
Yeah.
But your heart rate might not be that high.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can do a, max effort bike and your heart rate will be, through the skies.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really like that what you said, like if you're doing max effort, like I do a 10-minute max assault bike, I'm not going to look at the heart rate monitor because I know that after 1 minute, I will be so high that it's going to freak me out
still
if I look at it. Yeah, just
because you want to see how you want to analyze afterwards how the heart performed, like how your body
see,
performed.
how you can push your limits.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things. You'll be able to see that, oh, man, I can go, at 180 for 20 minutes on a bike. Like, that's going to give me a pretty good picture of next time on a bike or when I'm doing something simple in a workout that I can work around this, pace.
Very good. Mate, first half of the show covered off. Haven't answered a listener question yet, so we should really rattle into a couple of those. Let's get through some of them, and then we're going to jump back to the open. One that's been pending for a little while is one from Johnny Norton. He says, this one's for the listeners' question program on the podcast. We're in the right place. As a so-called master, should we be thinking about getting more rest in between classes? In general, should we be doing things differently than the younger 20-somethings? To be fair, I feel healthier now than I've ever done and just want to keep it going and avoid injuries. Thoughts?
It depends. It's all individual. I mean, we can say from a general perspective, if you are a master's athlete or an older athlete, you will need more rest because your recovery time is slower than, a young buck.
Yeah.
But again, it also depends. Have you been active for the last 20 years? What have you been doing? What's your background, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
There's a lot of metrics that we need to take a look at. But from a general perspective, definitely, you will need more rest and you will recover slower than a young athlete.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
That's just how it is, huh?
And it's not necessarily a big, massive weakness. It's just how it is, and you just need to adapt your training accordingly.
I agree, and I also disagree in the training adaptation. I think your recovery protocol needs to change.
Okay.
Why do I think older people are not recovering as fast? Because I know or I believe that they have a lot different, probably bigger stressors than younger people. So if you took let's take two sort of athletes that are going to CrossFit Games, one in the first Masters category, which is 35 years plus, and one who's around your age, 25. A guy of 35, and we've seen it at the Games, could have his own business, could have 2 children, could have a mortgage he's worried about, could have a load of other stresses. With his children, they could be very young. They could keep him up at night. So his recovery through all of those external factors is quite poor. Your recovery, because you work a job that allows you to compete, allows you to deliver on your passion.
Yep.
You don't really have any stress. You're not worried about the mortgage. You just pay rent, and you're cool, and you're comfortable where you live. Like you've created everything that's just like super comfortable.
Yeah.
Your recovery is, and you sleep every night 9 hours because you don't have a kid coming in and with nightmares and all of this.
Yeah.
Which athlete's going to recover faster? Like simple, right? So, and I think this is something for Johnny as well, and for everyone. You need to. I'm 40 years old nearly. I can train at high intensity twice a day. Like I've done it. I did it in the Open last year, and before I got smashed, I was doing it on my bike a lot. My recovery in that time was my main priority. Great food, lots of Volvic, and plenty of sleep.
Yeah.
And even, mate, the last few weeks, I'm trying to sleep between 8 to 10 hours a night to let my bones heal and let my body heal. The more I sleep, the more I recover well, the more I can train.
Yeah.
And I feel it. Like, if I'm sleeping well, then I'm awake at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I'm ready to go.
Boom.
So I think it's that as well. Like, I think we maybe come to a technical point where, you're getting old, you don't recover as fast. I actually think you're getting old, you don't prioritize recovery because your priorities in life are a lot different.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a super good point. Like,
yeah.
Stress is just like one of the main things that destroys performance.
Destroys it.
It's the worst thing for performance.
Yeah. And I think then we come from this sort of psychological side that says, I have to do the 5 workouts this week, and we end up late at night work, jobs. Maybe later as we go on in our career get a little bit more stressful and a little bit more serious and
more responsibility.
So we got a late night at work, so we've only slept 4 or 5 hours, and then we're coming in. So even if you don't have kids that you have to take care of or anything like that, there could be all these other external factors.
Yeah.
So I actually think that I agree with you, mate, in 100% what you're saying. Like, as people do get older, the body does change a lot.
Yeah.
But we still see, I'm sure when you're my age, you're still going to smash 18-year-olds at CrossFit.
Of course.
You just are.
But definitely, like, there's this window, where your age is, like, the best age for performance.
Yeah.
And then it will decrease.
Yes.
But it can be minimal if, you're taking care of your recovery. I actually just wrote a blog post a month ago on the InnerFight blog. All on recovery. So if you want to hit that up, I mean, there's all the tools that I've ever tried for recovery, how to track it, how to work on it, and a lot of those things are quite tangible and very easy to start doing. And
absolutely,
there's all the technology, and then there's the more hippie side of stuff, like barefoot walk on grass and those kind of things. And
actually, someone was asking me about that. Someone's asked me. I know exactly where it came from. How do I get big calves? And that was exactly, I thought of you, mate, like walking on sand, walking on grass, walking on the sides of your foot. Ido Portal loves that.
And if you're stressed, like that's a great thing. Like,
to calm you down.
That's what I do. I put I'm not stressed, but this helps my recovery.
Are you sure?
Generally,
I'm not stressed.
I'm not stressed at all. Just 20-minute clock, walk out in the yard by my building for 20 minutes, back and forth, just kind of feel the grass. No technology on me, just
relax.
Like, you just relax, like you deconnect for 20 minutes, and maybe there's a physical side of it, but there's probably more psychological side of it that you just sort of deconnect, earthing,
I need
grounding.
to speak to you a bit more about that, because when we finished running this morning at the track, Brian said, "Shall we walk on the grass together?"
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt a bit weird, but
he knows.
He walked on the grass. I walked back on the side of the track. He had his shoes on, but hopefully that's helpful for you, Johnny. And Johnny, you're still young. You're younger than me, and I'm still young, so we're still young. Johnny actually asked another quite interesting question, mate, and we'll do this for fun because it's quite a fun one. If you are forced to leave the health and fitness industry and you could choose any other industry to work in, which would you choose to work in and why?
You're going to start.
I might, because you don't have one.
I have one.
Oh, really? If you define the health and fitness industry as only the health and fitness industry, as in coaching, gyms, training, then my first pick would be in some form of human behavioral patterns and or human research as to what enables us, like a scientific side, if I was smart enough to be a scientist, a scientific side of human performance. Cool. I would want to, I'm always interested to read stuff about tests that people have done on them, if that and why they've got the results,
like biomechanics,
like
and stuff
biomechanics, and like why is threshold training? What, really dig into studies.
It's still kind of fitness in that. Well,
it is,
it's the backside of it. Yeah.
And I think if I was out of that, I think some form of, you see, I'm in business anyway, so it's a little bit different, but I would actually go into engineering. Really interests me. Like, why do airplanes fly? Why does a microwave make food hot? And I know what the answers are, but where did that thought process start?
Yeah.
Like, and we're sat here in 2018. We've had microwaves for years. We've had televisions for years. But, like, technology is quite amazing, and I like the engineering side of it.
Cool.
I would like to just be the T-boy in that kind of environment. Like, but you imagine, mate, how cool it would be to be the office boy that brings the papers round in the Apple Innovation Lab. Like, how cool would that job be?
That would be crazy.
And that job would pay very poorly because you're just bringing papers and cups of tea and coffee around. But that would be a job that I would absolutely love. That's why it's not always about how much money you earn. What's yours? You've had plenty of time to think.
Yeah, like, I think that I would. So I don't know if this is in help still, but I would be like a helper for disabled kids.
Yeah.
Just
super nice.
Help that full time.
Yeah.
Just help kids that
can't. You be trauma nurse, something like that.
Whatever. Yeah.
That was one of the coolest people. That he was a physio, but he was a trauma physio in hospital when I was there.
Just like a job where you can make a massive difference for other people, and I think that's, you get really satisfied from helping other people, and
absolutely,
and
that's similar. What's your other one?
My other one would be a barista.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
just coffees.
Just working coffee shop. Like, it's always nice serving people coffee and seeing how happy they are.
A good atmosphere, isn't it?
Yeah, I think also that's kind of one of those like service and hospitality where you can keep the complaints as low as possible. Yeah. I used to work in hospitality business hotels. Terrible, and they're just trying to rip you off the whole time and trying to get the room for free or get a dinner for free and complain, and there's never any positive feedback. I feel like with coffee, that's something. It's like this little extra thing that most people do, and there's most of the time a super positive like ambience and interference with the barista and the client.
How often do you think people complain that like the baristas put like too much or too little milk in their latte?
Mate, there probably
happens.
Yeah.
Really?
For sure. Like at Starbucks, people complain that, they're, 30 dirham Starbucks coffee that's like 1 liter with loads of coffee and everything, and they're like, it's too hot.
Yeah,
it's too hot. Are you serious?
Cup of coffee's too hot, yeah. But I find it's actually quite funny now this has got not much to do with listener Q&A, but I'll just hit it. I find more in big commercial coffee shops people are complaining than small little sort of specialty coffee shops where you'd be a barista.
I think that's the same in any industry.
Yeah,
people complain in the big fitness industry. Because they can't see who's the owner.
Yeah, that's true.
It's different. They complain here. They know you're going to be around all day.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, one subject that we were talking about and we're going to continue to talk about a little bit, we found something over on Instagram the other week, which was all about sort of product endorsements, Instagram celebrities, athlete endorsements. The guy who we were looking at there was a guy called, is it John? Oh, now I've lost it. I had it up here before.
He is a funny guy.
He is a super funny guy. This is like the worst preparation ever. But I had it right here on my phone.
It's in the WhatsApp group, if not.
Yeah. Anyway, what this guy was talking of, massive preparation fail there. I'll be in trouble from the people who get in my face about preparation. What we're talking about here is people endorsing things in Instagram, especially in the health and fitness world. Does it motivate you to buy it, and should it? What's the thoughts?
I think this is a massive topic, and you have educated us, all of our coaches, quite a lot about it.
Sorry, James Smith PT. I'm fully prepared. It's just when I was on the spot,
fired up.
Deliver. James Smith PT. We should actually play this one. I wonder how this could work. Insta famous.
So there are a lot of people on Instagram with fantastic bodies. large social media followings, but you can't go out for expensive dinners and pay for it with likes. You can't sit on nice parts of the plane with the likes that you've got. And what I tend to see is that these Insta models aren't very good at business. It's like, sweet, you got 500,000 followers, but I know you make absolutely no money.
Good one. Yeah, I like that one. Good video.
Because people are only following you because you look nice. Oh, sweet rig, bro. But no one's buying their fucking products. They're just aesthetically pleasing. So you've got these people, large followings, look great, fucking shit at business, don't earn much money. What do? They endorse useless supplements. Is it for your best interest? No. It's so they can make some fucking money. Promo code? Nope. That's a commission code. You're being taken for a fucking ride. Oh, guys, look at my great Photoshopped ads. Go buy my BCAAs. You're obviously being mugged off. Let's take down all of Instagram. I'm here today to save you.
That's such a good point. Like,
It's a massively cool point, right?
you're getting taken for a freaking ride.
He's brutal. Guys, go and check him out. James Smith, PT. Not related to me at all. But, mate, continue what you were saying there, like what we've been conditioned to believe and stuff, you know?
Yeah, like, I think people just sell themselves out nowadays,
Yeah.
you know? Like, you get approached by the supplement company or clothing company, and they want to give you all this stuff. And the deal is that you get whatever products you want in return of posting weekly about what they do. And it doesn't matter if you support it or not. Like, most people just, they want free stuff. They love free stuff, and therefore they sign up for this company, and they support them and actually get nothing out of it other than these 3 T-shirts and whatever protein powder, which cost us.
Is that worth it for the Instagram post? For some people, right?
Unfortunately, like, it's great for the companies because all of a sudden they don't have to spend all this money on expensive marketing. They can just send out free stuff, which doesn't cost them a penny.
Yeah.
And these guys with 20,000, 30,000 followers just gonna like hashtag them on a daily basis and tell them how that one BCA changed their life and how that T-shirt is like the best T-shirt to work out in ever.
Yeah.
And
it's a joke. And to be honest, mate, I don't have a massive Instagram following. I've had 3 proposals in the last 2 weeks. I won't mention the brands because that would be giving them exposure that I don't want to do, but one from a footwear brand that has no fit whatsoever with my personal interests. One from a electronics brand, which all they wanted to do was send me a piece of electronics so that I would then post about it, and they'd give me a list of stuff this deep about what to write in the post, what to hashtag and everything. They'd done it properly. And the other one was from a supplements company. And it's like, have you even seen my Instagram? You know that I actually already have a deal with a supplements company, and so, which actually, if you look at my front page of Instagram, you wouldn't even know that I have a deal with a supplements company.
And that's because it's also authentic. Like,
that's because
you have a deal. So what are your requirements when a sponsor approaches you to help them promote the brand or create a partnership? What are your criteria, and what do you recommend for people out there that are looking for sponsors and they might have been approached a few times but they're not quite sure who they should sign with? Or
mate, everything in this game is about value. What value are you giving to the brand? Like, is there a fit? Is there a genuine fit going on? And what value are you giving them, and what value are they getting back from you? A lot of it, like you said, mate, will be one way. What that electronics brand was going to give me is probably worth about 1,000 dirhams. And they wanted me to make X number of posts, which there's now rate cards for Instagram posts. So you've got X amount of followers, one post is worth X. You've got Y amount of followers, a post is worth Y, for example. So it's about what value. And that's why, like, it's obvious. And anyone that follows my Instagram or follows my social media or watches this show knows that I drink Volvic water. I don't pay for Volvic water. I get given it for free. And Volvic came to me with a 3-year plan, which gives me a financial benefit as well for drinking Volvic water. So I get paid to drink Volvic water, and I'm very open about it. I don't have a problem. It's a 3-year plan. They put the benefits to their brand on one side of the paper, and they put the benefits to my brand on the other side of the paper, my personal branding. We're going to get you this much exposure for yourself. We're going to get you in all of these different places, and at the same time, we're going to get our brand in all of these places through you. So it's absolutely clear-cut, and it's a 3-year commitment. So it's not, I'm going to send you some headphones, which it was. I nearly said the brand there. I'm going to send you some headphones, try them, use them put them on your Instagram, and we'll never have a relationship again. Because what that's doing for me or for you is it's taking all of the people that are loyal to us, all of our followers, for an absolute ride. And it's basically what that guy was just saying there. We're just bullshitting our followers by saying, yeah, we use this. And you look at most of these Instagram Fitspo people, all their Instagram is a big reel of shit marketing, because they've got no loyalty and they've got no consistency, and therefore they've got no value.
Yeah.
And they don't actually use the product. Like, I see people posting about stuff, they don't even use it. Anyway, so that's what you need to be looking for, mate. I think, value.
Yeah.
And I think if you are following someone that's respected in an industry, I think you need to look for consistency in their message and what value you, as one of their supporters, one of their followers, is actually getting out of them. I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, you're essentially hopefully using your Instagram profile or platform to give value and give out good content for your followers, who are essentially your fans, or the people that stand behind you. If not, they wouldn't have clicked on that follow button, and they wouldn't click on the likes every time and those kind of things. So you need to provide them with something that's useful, and if you just shit talk and don't do it, you're gonna lose them. And essentially they're the whole background for why you're doing it.
100%. Talking about value, mate, something that I do want to promote is the Retreat 1.2, which is coming Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th. It's a 36-hour retreat that gives you an insane amount of value. So folks need to go and check that out. This show that we're on now gets released on the 5th of April, so you have 7 days to make a good decision about your life. I can guarantee you went on the first one, mate.
Yeah, is this the same setup?
It's the same setup. Thoughts on it?
It was awesome. Like, this is no commercial. This is no fake.
He doesn't get paid. He's not an ambassador.
I paid for the trip myself.
Exactly.
I even paid for my girlfriend to go as well, and we had a great trip. Like,
there we go.
It was really valuable, and 36 hours, in a good way, felt like a super long time. In a good way.
Yeah. So we have that coming up. You need to hop on that retreat. Another question that we've been getting a lot. The Open is over, and I wanted to do better next year. Let's wrap up the last 5 minutes of this show with what are the next steps. You're the coach. You're the guy that runs Red Zone. You coach a lot of CrossFit athletes. I've heard it. We spoke about it before. I'm going to get a pull-up, this, that, and the other. What are the steps, mate, to do better? The simple goal, I want to do better in next year's Open than I did in this. Go.
Simple. You finish this year's Open, I think you should sit down with a piece of paper and write down what your thoughts were. Reflect upon your performance. Reflect upon how you felt going into the Open, during the Open, and after this year's Open. Were you satisfied? Did you hit your expectations? What were your limitations? Like, list down everything that kept you from hitting your expectations and performing well.
Such as? Some examples?
Like, for me this year was I couldn't clean as heavy as I expected after going nuts on a workout.
Right.
Okay, that's maybe also paced wrong, but essentially I want to be able to clean more under fatigue. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, that's that pull-up that they expose people to this year.
Yeah.
So that could be one thing. So now that you have, an overview over what was the struggles this year, what was the weaknesses, you can approach a coach, or you can try yourself to create a plan for next year. And I think you should try to create a long-term plan. You're like, all right, I got 12 months or 11 months before the Open starts. Yeah. I'm going to break this year into blocks. I'm going to create 2-month blocks. And in the first block, I want to achieve this. Second block, I want to continuously improve this, or I want to work on a new skill, etc., etc. So, and then you have it all mapped out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is important, because I think some people might be leaving the Open with 4 or 5 things, and it's like, what do I work on first? Ah, shit, I end up working on none of them.
Yeah, just divide, the next 10 months up in blocks and focus on a skill, for 30 days or 1 month or 2 months, depending on how far you are from attaining it.
Nice.
If it's a difficult skill, approach a coach that can help you with some hands-on coaching on how to actually learn the skill.
Right.
And just, hammer it. And one really important thing when it comes to skills and general movement is that first you want to improve the movement quality.
Right.
So if the pull-up, you could do you did your first kipping pull-up in this year's Open,
Yeah.
but it was terrible. Now we're going to look at improving the quality of that movement. That could be breaking it down, improving the quality of your hollow arch, the kip swing, the beat swing, dynamic pulling. How can we improve, the quality of that? Then we look at building the strength in order to continuously, improve the quality of the movement pattern.
Yeah.
And then we look at building more endurance in that, so you can do more pull-ups. Now we build, better mechanics.
Yeah.
We build some more strength in order for you to actually get stronger, so you don't get injured in that movement, so you can put out, more reps,
Yeah.
better reps. And now we're going to build an endurance. We're going to make you be able to do more reps in that one set at a time, or during that workout. And then last but not least, we want to make you more fatigue resistant.
Right.
So when you have that one workout, you've done pull-ups all year and it's going really great, and then the workout comes where there's like max out rowing and pull-ups, and you can't get your pull-up. So that's kind of trying to make you more fatigue resistant, so that regardless of your fatigue level and how much effort you've just put in, and like this other exercise, you can still bang out secure number of pull-ups.
I think that's one of the things as well, mate, where I want to almost manage people's let's say I want to manage people's expectations a little bit, in that you might work the whole year to improve a pull-up or to improve a muscle-up, but are you doing it after 2K all-in row?
Yeah.
And I think you've got to go into these things, into this thing called CrossFit, knowing that we do not know what's going to be the workouts next year. They could put it in a really nasty order.
Yeah.
I think CrossFit are getting a little bit nicer to how they put those things in. The first time they put
Really?
Yes. What, mate? The first time they put muscle ups in,
It's like 150 wall balls.
that was the first year, which was 2012. I don't think the first Open didn't have them in. The first year that they put them in, 2012, 150 wall balls, very taxing on the cardiovascular system, like
And
it
shoulders.
gasses you,
Yeah.
shoulders. High skill, double unders, 90 gasses the hell out of you, and then asks you to do a muscle up. I guarantee you there were people that could do muscle ups that never made it there in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And that also, when they got there, they were so gassed out, they were just absolutely dead. Their shoulders are dead. So even if they could do, people maybe could do 5 unbroken muscle ups, but they were just absolutely gassed out. So I think it's, okay, the Open is still very hard, mate. I'm not saying that it's not hard,
of course
but
not.
you know what I mean? I think you still have to have in the back of your mind that no one knows what the Open is going to be like next year. We're just trying to give you advice based on what we can do. But once you get that skill, be it a muscle up, be it pull-ups, be it a handstand push-up, then start to try and test it in different ways as well.
Exactly. And follow that order. Well, first, you master the skill 100%.
Yeah.
And then once you have, a minimum capacity at least, then we can start looking at the combinations and working under fatigue. Because I think a lot of people jump that one step and they're like, I want to get better pull-ups. All right, there's pull-ups and friend, so I'll just do friend. Like, you probably won't get better in your pull-ups from doing friend. You get better
doing friend.
Like, you need to improve the pull-ups separately.
Yeah.
And then after you can manage the skill, we can now look at combinations.
Yeah.
But I think people get confused because they look at all the games athletes on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they just hit like sick workouts all the time that look awesome. But they already have that capacity and mechanics to, master these movements. And even for me, like, I'll do empty barbell thrusters. Just try to like improve how I move throughout the thruster instead of trying to do Fran 7 times to improve my thrusters.
Right.
It's not always about just smashing yourself, accumulating volume, but more about like, how can we improve that movement quality?
Sounds good, mate. That is 45 minutes of the best knowledge that we could put together on this very fine Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
Folks, we want to thank you for listening. Thank you for the questions that you've thrown in. We got through most of them, and hopefully on the other topics that were maybe not so much in the notes, we gave you a good bit of value there as well. If you like the show, share it with your friends. If you did like the show or didn't like the show, let us know, winning@innerfight.com. If you've got any questions, send them into us, winning@innerfight.com. We will do more listener Q&As in a few weeks. We have an absolutely jam-packed schedule over the next few weeks. next weekend we have Bridget Slocum on, and she was talking all about how wearing Lycra has somehow become trendy. And then on Friday the 13th, we go on the retreat, which you're all going to join us on. And then on the 19th of April, we have a podcast with a guy, Tom Evans, British runner, who came third in NDS last year. He's absolute gun at running. Some real interesting things. Your takeaway from him? Process, not outcome.
I love that. I love that.
That was super
cool.
was
awesome.
So make sure you listen to Tom. Andre, thanks for the show.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Folks, thanks a lot for listening. We'll catch you next time.